Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock, practicing necromancer. And today I'm going to do a book report, or a book review, I should say, on two different books. The first one is Deschooling Society by Ivan Illich. Very, very good book. I highly recommend it. The second book is One Dimensional Man by Herbert Marcuse. Okay. Very, very good book. These are older books. For an example, Deschooling Society was originally reprinted in 1972. Originally, the copyright was 1970. So this is more of a prophetic type book, Deschooling Society, and it fits into modern society on many, many different levels today, which is why I said it's more prophetic, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. Now, One Dimensional Man is another great book, and this was written in 1964. The second edition came out in 1991. Okay. But originally, Marcus Herbert was 1898, which was incredible to find this out. Very, very good book. Speaks to more, how should I say this, materialistic type things compared to education and the way we perceive things in the world. So I want to bring some things in from real world things that are today to start off with. Okay, so just bear with me. I'm going to try not to make this video go longer than necessary. Now, let's look at what's going on. Okay, we got the war in Iran. We're attacking, South America, and it's for oil, basically. They're claiming that they're removing tyranny, right? They're removing and protecting the American people. But look at what's being attacked. What's the wars going after? It's about oil, materialistic things. They don't come out and say that, but let me ask you this. From a political perspective, who benefits? Not Russia, not China, right? The American people. Okay? The America. Because now, who's the one that is in control of this? The American government. Okay? Think about that for just a moment. Another great perspective is the lack of education in our schooling. It's come down to money. Teachers are going to become teachers to learn. Okay? They're not there to learn to teach children. They're there for the paycheck. So therefore, you got the dumbing down of knowledge over the last 30 to 40 years. And it's been a steady decrease in knowledge, which is why I like this book and why it speaks so much today on what we're experiencing. Another great perspective of this is when you go to a dog park, for those of you who have dogs, have you ever noticed the lack of understanding between the human pack compared to the animal pack? Okay? Think about it like this. People get dogs based off image, right? It's like how you create friends. It's just saying likes like, right? So if you think, oh, I'm going to get a husky because it's pretty, right? Or I'm going to get a collie because it's pretty. Do you actually have the understanding of that dog breed? Do you know how to train it? Do you know how to control their prey drive if they have it? I mean, shepherds are notorious for their prey drive, just like a husky is. But people don't understand that. So they'll hit the dog, they'll do whatever they need to do to get the dog to quit fighting. But they don't understand it until somebody comes along and educates them because they have that experience, right? So even if you get into a, let's go social media chat group out of an example here, and you put this 15 years of experience through, say, for an example, ministry, multi faith ministry, to be precise, and you do this from a perspective going, hey, guys, this is what you need to do and to work on that will benefit your chances of finding a good woman. Okay, and what women are actually seeking. All of a sudden, you're getting all kinds of hate mail saying you're not this or that. Please leave. Okay, you see where that comes in. See, this is a response to an actual fact, and it speaks wonders to what happens when you get somebody that knows what they're doing, and it causes a chain reaction. Okay? So all of this stuff that I just mentioned goes into these two books. Okay? So, first of all, let's go into One Dimensional Man by Herbert Marcuse. Very, very good book. And I got this book a little over a week ago, and I have read this book from front to back. It took me about 3 days, about three and a half days to go through. This book was pretty good too. Took me another few days to go through. But this one book left me sitting there going, what the fuck? Because it really speaks to the world in today's society. My son's mother, for an example, she's more concerned with getting a new car. Not about getting rid of her debt, not getting rid of the payments that she needs to do for college or whatever, that she's got to pay back her tuition and stuff like that. It's none of that stuff, but it's the new car, it's the new set of clothing, it's the new iPhone or the latest iPhone. And it's not just her, it's also a lot of other people, because society has deemed that you need this stuff, when in reality, you don't need it. It's all about money and propaganda. So I wanted to read something real fast, and this is on chapter 1, The New Forms of Control, second paragraph down. Okay? The rights and liberties which were such vital factors in the origins and earlier stages of industrial society yield to a higher stage of this society. They are losing their traditional rationale and content. Freedom of thought, speech, and conscience were just as free enterprise, which they served to promote and protect essentially critical ideas designed to replace an obsolescent material and intellectual culture by a more productive and rational one. Once institutionalized, these rights and liberties shared the fate of the society of which they had become an integral part. The achievement cancels the premises. Now think about that for just a minute. When you learn history in school, they barely go over this today. In my day, they taught heavily on history. They taught about, say for an example, World War II, Vietnam, okay, the Cold War. They taught about the American Revolution, okay, and they really taught about things like the Roman Empire, the time of Julius Caesar. But more than that, you go into, say for an example, Europe, where they're dealing with say for an example, Napoleon. But they don't really go into detail about how these people came to power. They didn't go into how their societies reached the pinnacle, okay? And I'm talking the very peak of dominance, technology wise, sociology wise. And then all of a sudden, the complete collapse of society itself. Not just the government, but the society. The Roman Empire fell. Napoleon's empire fell. What happened to Alexander the Great? Ironic, right? But a lot of people, they can go into, say, for an example, Bushido and learn Miyamoto Musashi's 21 rules of Dakota. Oh my God, I can't speak right now. Dakota, okay? On how to live a happier life with less. They don't, not more. And it's not just that. You go into any religious structure, they talk about less. But yet they're constantly doing what these days? Asking for money, right? So I'm going to go into a different chapter in this book. Let's go on to page 79. This is in, let me go back here a couple pages so I can get to the chapter for you. Chapter 3, The Conquest of the Unhappy Consciousness, Repressive Sublimation. Okay? This is the third paragraph down, well, technically second, because the top two lines are based off the last one on page 78. Institutionalized sublimation thus appears to be an aspect of the conquest of transcendence, achieved by the one-dimensional society. And this is where I want you to pay attention. Just as this society tends to reduce and even absorb opposition, which is basically the qualitative difference in the realm of politics and higher culture, so it does in the instinctual sphere. The result is the atrophy of the mental organs for grasping the contradictions and the alternatives, and in the one remaining dimension of technological rationality, the happy consciousness comes to prevail. Basically meaning the belief that the real is rational and the established system, in spite of everything, delivers the goods. Okay? Now, just think about that for just a minute. Okay? What makes this book so realistic in today's society is the fact that you've got all these ads hitting everything from radios to TV to even if you get on social media, these ads pop up saying, hey, now you got this issue going on with, say, a man not being a man, not being able to get it up, so you need this pill or Blue Chew. Does anybody remember the little blue pill from like 20 years ago? No, they don't teach the history of this, of pharmaceuticals. No, they don't. Even if you go back even further, let's go into, say, for an example, technology. The greatest, it's constantly improving. Now we've got AI. Does anybody remember Terminator? Now they're building what? They've got an AI system now. Wow. So the AI is taking over your writing. It's taking over your employment. It's taking over everything worldwide. They call it smart technology. And now you got futuristic cars that drive themselves. But wait, they don't teach you that the cars run over people. They've had numerous accounts. This was just within the last few years. Wow. Amazing, right? So materialistic over rational, is this a good thing or a bad thing? When is it that when the irrational takes over and the human is gone? You know, Gustav, who wrote the book on called The Crowds, spoke on the parapsychology, and I spoke on this in a past book review, on the difference between the mentality of an individual versus that of a crowd. Now, you remember what I said earlier about allowing people to dictate what you believe. Okay? Now, what happens in a group mentality when somebody actually brings a different perspective? It gets shut down, right? And the herd collective takes over. You got one man trying to make a difference in the government, right? We're talking Donald Trump, right? Bear with me. I know a lot of people claim to be dissatisfied, but yet most people actually voted for the guy. He's the head of MEGA, Make America Great Again, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Donald Trump. I actually own several of his books, from The Art of Making a Deal to The Art of the Comeback, even a couple books that he co-wrote with Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, that's right, the guy that founded Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Amazing book, right? But here it is. I want you to think about this. What is going on in the Senate today? You got Republicans, you got liberals that are standing up, supporting him, right? Because he's doing what's best for the American people. But yet, what is it that is not working for the American people? The Democrats. How many times is the government shut down because of these morons? It's affected the middle class. It's affected the lower class, not the first class, right? And it's all come down to money. It all comes down to a title. It all comes down to the position that they hold, that they think that they hold a false state of empowerment. Now, here's the ironic part. Any American that's read the Constitution knows that the government officials were elected by the people for the people, which means you don't hold shit, dick. The people do. We hold your fate in our hands. Now, think about this. Everything from religion to education to the protection of the country to the very products that we rely on daily. Not just the foods. It goes into pharmaceuticals. It goes into education. It goes into weaponization. It goes into your physical rights as individuals. All is being affected by materialistic goals and aims. This book is definitely prophetic in nature, and it was written ahead of its time, and it speaks wonders to today. So I highly recommend that you go out and get this book if you want your mind opened up and you want to see the BS that the government, society, the media, everything is throwing at you, especially from these government, how should I say this? Look at me, we're doing badass stuff type things. The defeated logic of protest. Love that chapter. Very, very educational. Comes at it from a perspective. Plato is mentioned in here. His Meno, if you will, and so forth. But the first half of this book, I had to sit there and draw a line underneath a lot of this stuff because it spoke so clearly to the things that me, my family, those that I affiliate with have witnessed and seen and experienced firsthand. And it's funny because this book was written like 50 to 100 years ago, and it's still there. Okay? So let's move on to the second book. Okay? Ivan Illich, Deschooling Society. You want a book that is deep. Deep, and I mean freaking deep. And this man wrote two books that I own. One is on modern, the modern medical aspects, and it was written back in what was it, 19? It was, I believe, the second aspect of it was published in like 1972 or something. But this book here, like I said, was originally done in 1970. Prophetic book, reprinted in 1972, 1974, 1978, all the way up to 2018. It's got 105 pages, and I wanted to kind of read this to you right on the first page. Why we must disestablish school. Many students, especially those who are poor, intuitively know what the schools do for them. They school them to confuse process and substance. That's deep right there, and it's truth. Once these become blurred, a new logic is assumed. The more treatment there is, the better are the results, or escalation leads to success. The pupil is thereby schooled to confuse teaching with learning, grade advancement with education, a diploma with competence, and fluency, with the ability to say something new. His imagination is schooled to accept service in place of value. Medical treatment is mistaken for healthcare. Social work for the improvement of community life. Police protection for safety. Military poesy for national security. The rat race for productive work. Health, learning, dignity, independence, and creative endeavor are defined as little more than the performance of the institutions which claim to serve these ends, and their improvement is made to depend on allocating more resources to the management of hospitals, schools, and other agencies in question. That's freaking deep. That is freaking deep, but it, like I said, it speaks so much today. They're talking about healthcare cuts. They're talking about budget cuts. They're talking about all this, we're supposed to be billions, trillions of dollars in debt to China, supposedly, right? But yet they're going to constantly cut down trees, make thousands of dollars come to light, flooding the system that's already collapsing from within under the strain of barely holding your fucking head above water, right? Like I said about knowledge and education, it's just dubbed down from my mother's perspective, my perspective, my nephew's perspectives, his sons and his kids and my kids' perspectives. Okay? All these generations, you're seeing the decline in education. I mean, you consider in the 17th century, children were taught by their parents, educated by their parents. 18th century, it became a choice to go to school or to be homeschooled. Come into the 19th century, the 19th, 20th century, all of a sudden you're mandated to have your ass in school. Now you have to have a diploma to teach, to perform a fucking job. All these hoops, all these distractions. For what? Because the government says you have to have them? It's like now they're promoting that you have to have an ID, a legal ID, to be able to vote. Think about that for just a minute. more ways to spend money. They're taking with one hand and giving with the other. That's all they're doing. It's the same shit, just another fucking day. Okay? Just a different topic. It doesn't matter what the topic is, it's always there. Okay? They said slavery has been abolished, right? Bullshit. You're a slave to the system. You do this or this is going to happen to you. You either do this or you go to jail. Pay your taxes or you go to jail. Has anybody ever read the 16th Amendment? Wow. Amazing, right? Have they even, they sat there and said, well, if you abort a child, you're going to be charged with manslaughter. Spend 25 to life in prison, right? That's what they're telling females. Apparently, after they removed Roe versus Wade, they forgot to pay attention to the 1010-117 Act of the Constitution. Oh my God, I can't speak today. The 1010-117 Congress Act under A and B, okay? Which is ironic because of the fact that the first part says a woman has a right to either bear or conceive a child based off safety and mental health. Part 2 says, and I quote, that no government agency, from law enforcement, legal, judicial, courtrooms, all the way up into, specific offices, do not have a right to interfere. Wow, but yet, here they are, interfering, right? They're trying to get rid of your national right to bear arms, attacking the Constitution itself. And then they're going to use it all in the same sentence. Wow. And yet people buy into it. They get so emotional over it. Now, here's something I want to bring in. I'm going to go to page 5. This is total failure to improve the education of the poor despite more costly treatment can be explained in 3 ways. Number 1, $3 billion are insufficient to improve the performance of 6 million children by a measurable amount. Or, number 2, the money was incompetently spent. Different curricular, better administration, further concentration of the funds on the poor child, and more research are needed and would do the trick. Or number 3, educational disadvantage cannot be cured by relying on education within the school. Think about that for just a minute. What have we seen from our educational system here in America? They're cutting programs. They're bringing one religion in, but not accepting all of them, which goes against the First Amendment. Now you got metal detectors coming in. Why is it that we've all of a sudden got all this violence around? Supposedly underneath the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. I don't know about your kind, but back in the day, you could show up at school with a rifle in the bed of your truck on the rack. Now you can't even have it on the premises. You go to your living place, say for an example, excuse me. You go to low-income based federal housing. You can't have weapons of any kind, but yet you're allowed to have knives as for cooking, right? Last time I checked, a knife can do equally as much damage as a gun, right? So they're accepting this, but denying this. You can smoke, but now you can't smoke on property. Smoking's bad for you, but wait, it reduces stress. From a medical perspective. But it can also be a part of religious practices. Symbol of power and authority, especially with cigars. Wow, interesting, right? But yet, you're going to spend resources from a child protective services, for an example, going after a family that has done nothing wrong, has nothing against them, for a year and a half, while a 10-year-old is being beaten to death by her family not 40 minutes away. Wow. CPS really filled that one. So you're going to spend money to improve schools, but yet you're going to dictate what it can go to and what it can't go to. Ironic, right? So let's go a little bit further here. Let's go to page 9. Equal obligatory schooling must be recognized as at least economically unfeasible. In Latin America, the amount of public money spent on each graduate student is between 350 to 1,500 times the amount spent on the median citizen. That is the citizen who holds the middle ground between the poorest and the richest. In the United States, the discrepancy is smaller, but the discrimination is keener. The richest parents, some 10%, can afford private education for their children and help them to benefit from foundation grants. But in addition, they obtain 10 times the per capita amount of public funds if this is compared with the per capita expenditure made on the children of the 10% who are poorest. The principal reasons for this are the rich children stay longer in school, that a year in a university is disproportionately more expensive than a year in high school, and that most private universities depend, at least indirectly, on tax-derived finances. Think about that for just a minute. What did we see a few years back? I believe it was around the time COVID hit. Lori Loughlin and a few others, celebrities, got hit by the FBI claiming to be influencing universal funds. Why? Because their children are getting in while those of the lesser don't get in? Is this not discriminatory? Money opens doors for people than those that don't have money. This is a proven fact. It's been that way for over 2,000 years, going as far back as the Roman Empire. Think about that for just a moment. You want to know why I recommend these two books? Because out of the 37 books that collection that I put together, they don't just open your mind. They don't just open your psyche. They enlighten you through imagination. They enlighten you educationally. Which is why the old saying goes, read well, but read wide. Now, what does that mean? You read well by making a routine of reading the same time every day. 10 minutes, an hour. But widen your horizons. And I recommend the older the books, the better. Because they're not corrupted. They're not watered down. You know, there's two different types. I posted here on my YouTube channel 2 books. One, a modern day version of fascism. Okay? Compared to one that was written 50 to 60 years ago. 2 different levels of intellectual educational experience through perspectives. The older kicked the ass of the newer model. Hands down. It wasn't just psychological, it was educational. It put forth facts. These books put forth numerous facts. So you want to know why I recommend them? It's because of what they can teach you. They get you thinking. They break you free from the modern corruptive systems. And when you break away from these systems because you become enlightened, because you become educated on the topics, it makes you a threat. You know, one of the key things that was written in One Dimensional Man is the overall system runs great when everybody's on board. But think about it like this: when you see fish going away, going with the current, everything's going great, right? Until you get that one fish that decides, I'm going to go against that current. Do we not see this in modern society where that one individual becomes the bad guy for speaking out? They become the monster, the demon, the Antichrist. Think about that. Think about that for just a moment. The thing about these older books is that they were perceived through logic, through understanding and education. These people did their homework on the very topics, most likely experienced it the hard way, and they spoke it the way it was, the way it is, from their perspective. Now look at it in our time. Has anything really changed? The lack of education, the lack of being able to speak your mind. People are too wrapped up in materialistic perspectives. People are more submissive when it comes to speaking truth. Remember when truth used to be a matter of honor? And now people are so butthurt that you have to watch what you say because it's going to offend. Oh. Oh, excuse me. Because it's going to offend somebody, or it could offend somebody. Oh my fucking God. Throat's a little dry today. So, this is why I recommend the older books to you. This is why I'm doing these book reports, because I want you to understand that you don't have to follow this system of corruption and idiocy. Get away from that system. Break away. Learn how to be self-dependent. You can have people underneath your, within your inner circle. I would rather have one good friend than 1,000 backstabbers. Plain and simple. Because if I don't have that one friend, I'd rather just be alone. The only person I can trust is me, right? Just like the only person that you can trust is yourself. Education is your responsibility. You're the only one that can do that. If you want to believe what other people are telling you and buy into that, I want you to think about this. Then that's your stupidity when it comes back to bite you in the ass. Now think about it like this. Take it with a grain of salt. If somebody gets butthurt over, a hair across their ass because you spoke your opinion, then look at it like this. That's not your problem. That's theirs. Plain and simple. I don't care if you like me. You want to get emotional over something I said, that's on you. That's your emotion. That's your feeling. I can only control myself. I'm responsible for me and me alone. You don't like it? Tough. These books will enlighten you, they will educate you, and they will free your mind. Hands down. David Jeffrey, welcome. Nathan Hedix, welcome. 123. Killian Clark, welcome. Jeffrey, welcome. Chaos 80, welcome. So, anyways, like I said, the reason I do these book reports is to show you this is stuff that has been an ongoing issue. This is things that you see a huge difference between 50 years ago, 200 years ago, compared to the last 20 years, 30 years even. Same shit, just another day. Once you realize that, I believe, I can't remember the movie, but the guy was on the stage with two other people, candidates for something, and a college girl asked, "What makes America great?" You know, and the guy went off and he spoke truth, and it cost him his political career. And then, ironically, who came to work for that company that the guy worked for? The same girl that asked that question. So that goes to show you that by speaking truth, you're going against the grain. Okay? But at the same time, look at what it taught that lady. Look at what it taught that student. She thought this is the way the game is played. You know, this is what people would ask. Find out what somebody else's opinion is. But what did the guy do? He didn't just attack his coworkers or the liberal aspect of it. He went right into statistics and taught and showed this is what used to be. This is what we're seeing today. And the first thing you need to recognize is that there is a problem. To fix a problem, you need to recognize that there is a problem. And if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be fucking speaking on shit. Plain and simple. It does not matter if it's religion. It does not matter if it's a philosophy. It doesn't matter if it's legal, political, social. This shit is there. And it's all tied into one. They can sit there and say church and state is separate. Then if it's separate, why is it that people are sworn in by the Christian Bible? Why not the Wiccan Bible? Why not the Satanic Bible? How about the Witch's Bible? All these Bibles out there, but yet it's only the Christian? And yet we're supposed to be a country that is made up of fairness, equality. You have a right to make a living, but yet they're going to limit you? Ironic, right? And then they're going to blacklist you from your field. Think about that. This is what corporations is. This is what the government is. Their whole objective is to keep you in submissive mode. Because they fear that when you become alert, educated, and aware, they lose control. They lose money. And that's all you are, is money. As long as they have a body on the floor, that's all that fucking matters. They don't respect you. They don't care about you. You're just a meat sack. Cattle. You come and go like a dime a dozen. That's why it's important to learn for yourself. So I highly recommend these two books to you. Again, that's Deschooling Society and One Dimensional Man. Okay? So I want to thank everybody for jumping on here with me. It means a lot. If you like what I do and what I share with you, feel free to hit that notification button. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. And so you don't miss a thing. And until next time, I'm out. Have a good day or a good night wherever you are in the world.